Welcome to Invisible Dopeness. This podcast exists because a lot of people are carrying their worlds on their back. Responsibility, expectations,
Emotions.
and sometimes while showing up and handling all of that pressure, you can start to feel unseen.
But not unseen because you aren't valuable.
But because life doesn't always pause long enough to really acknowledge what you're holding.
Invisible dopeness lives right here.
In the effort, in the care, in the love, in the strength, and in all the other parts that are of you and they don't get noticed.
The things you do quietly that keep everything moving.
So let us tell you, we see you.
We see you.
We see how hard you're working towards your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. We see the things you do that nobody claps for.
And we see the weight you carry quietly.
Hey, love, I'm Anya. I have spent a lot of my life being the one people depend on, even in moments where I wasn't sure I could depend on myself. There were seasons where I found myself depending on God, especially when things were happening and they felt completely out of my control and there was no one else I could depend on. And when you're the only one who shows up all the time, it's easy to start wondering if anyone really sees you. And a lot of us had, like myself, moments like this that made us feel invisible.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. And for me, visibility hasn't come from a lack of love because I'm definitely loved. But love shows up in a number of different ways. What I felt when I felt was invisible is in my journey, my entrepreneurial journey, having to pursue my dreams all by myself, having ideas, visions, and questions, and not having the people around me, the immediate people in my world, share to have that to share with. They weren't um, interested, they weren't involved. And that kind of silence made me lonely. Entrepreneurship is lonely. Solopreneurship is lonely. And that's actually why I even created a community for solopreneurs because of that fact. But people are afraid to put themselves out there and they worry about what other people will say and what they sound like, what they look like, so on and so forth. And I chose to put myself out there in the way of entrepreneurship publicly via a podcast, through social media and videos. And I understand that it takes work. I understand that it takes consistency and I understand that it takes time. But that's the hard part for me. When you don't have many people cheering you on, you start to question what you're doing. Is it even working? Or should you even do it? And that type of silence can make you shrink, can make you feel invisible. I'm still making sacrifices. I'm still navigating changes, my losses, my responsibilities, and I end up living in the quiet. And over time, it definitely made me shrink. And that's what invisible feels like to me.
So, this podcast was born out of a real conversation Stephanie and I had. She shared with me that she was feeling invisible in some really important spaces in her life. And that's my girl. So, in that moment, all that I wanted her to know was this. And Stephanie, I'm going to tell you again, girl, I see you. I see how much you love. I see how much you give. I see how hard you try. I see how hard you work. And I'm so very proud of you. And I'm honored to be your sister friend. And I need you to know, and excuse my language, but you are dope as fuck. You are phenomenal, sis. And again, I'm grateful to know you. Even when the people you care about the most and that are close to you don't see you clearly, girl, I see you. I see you and I love you.
Thank you. I hear that. I hear that, and it matters to me more than you will ever know, Anya. I appreciate you, and the sentiment is mutual. I see you as well. You know that's one of my favorite sayings. I trump I see you over I love you because when you see somebody and you still love them, then it's unconditional. And I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's definitely Steph's phrase. I see you. She has coined that, and I just took it in my little hands. It was like, oh, it's ours, sis, because I see you too. It's a mutual thing, and it goes both ways. So I appreciate and love you, sis. Invisible dopeness is us simply saying to you that you are not the
You're
only
not
one
the
who's,
only one who's ever felt this way.
yep, you're not the only one. And you don't carry that alone. We see you. And again, we just want you to know you dope as fuck. And I'm sorry, because I use a little foul language every now and then. But you're amazing. You're awesome.
Awesome. You are fierce.
You're unique.
You're voracious.
You're soulful.
You're fearless.
You're radiant.
You are sensational.
You're wise.
You're grounded.
You're bold.
You're breathtaking.
You are breathtaking. Somebody took our breath right now. You're
Right, right.
captivating.
You are beautiful.
You are brilliant.
You is kind.
You is loving.
And you are strong.
And you are soft. You may feel invisible at
Invisible at
times,
times.
but you are
You are
super
super dope
dope all the
all
time.
the time.
All the time. So you
All
may
the time.
feel invisible at times. But again, you, you watching. You're super dope all the time. And you need to remember that. You're special. You're appreciated. We see you and we love you. And we love you with the love of God. And guess what? God loves you too. So, welcome again to Invisible Dopeness. Let's get into it. Let's get
Into it.
into it.
All right. So this episode is supported by NYB Lifestyle, Ecosys Studios, Always Thankful Incorporated, Queen's Barbecue and Southern Cuisine, The Lupus Rainbow, and AIM Connection LLC.
When we thought about where to begin, there was only really one place that made sense to us because we talk so much about like invisible dopeness. And because we're going to talk about that, where did it come from? We learned by watching. So for our very first episode, we're talking about our mother figures, our mothers, and the women who carried invisible dopeness long before we had words for it. And I do want to share one thing before we go any further. We want to wish you all a happy new year. January
Happy New
1st,
Year.
happy new year.
Happy New
January
Year.
January 1st is the start of a new year. It's also my mother's birthday. Her name is Barbara Jean Crankfield Lumpkin. She was born January 1st, 1950, and she passed away January 28th, 2018. So, this launch of this podcast right here and right now just felt right, not just for the new year, but to honor her and the mother figures of the people that I love. Stephanie.
Right. Invitation into the circle. This conversation isn't about perfection, about perfect relationships. It's about truth. It's about seeing our mothers and our mother figures as whole people, and honoring what they carried, whether we understood it at that time or not.
But before we go any further, we want to open this space to a few other voices. These are people who carry their own stories, their own relationships, um, their own reflections about the women who helped raise them. They're here because of their invisible dopeness. And that has brought us all together to support one another. And because each of them brings something very meaningful to this conversation, we are grateful they chose to share this space with us, and they are part of our invisible dopeness circle. People who help shape this space in ways you'll feel even when they're not on mic. I'd like to start by introducing someone who has been a part of my life for a very long time. It feels like forever. Jean. Jean is here with us. Jean is my ride or die. I have known her almost my entire life. Jean has seen,
Basically.
yeah, Jean has seen me through everything, right? Like the good, the messy, the growing, and having her here just feels right. Jean, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and share whatever feels right for you in this moment.
I'm Jean, and I'm just happy to be here to offer support in any way that I can. I think it's a great cause, and I look forward to being a part of
Yay! Thank you so much, love. I appreciate you and I
it.
love you. Thank you for being here. And next, we got Miss Ruby, or as my husband affectionately calls her, Ruby Tuesday, is also here with us. I met Ruby about 2 years ago during a work from home training, but it did not feel new. It felt real familiar, like one of those connections that don't need time to make sense. You know what I'm saying? So, Ruby, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and share whatever feels right for you in this moment.
Hi, my name is Ruby, and I am a entrepreneur. I own AIM Connection, which is a virtual assistant business, and I would like to say thank you for allowing me to actually be on your first podcast. So, and thank you so much.
You're welcome. I love you and I adore you. I love everyone who is here means so much to me. So I thank you all for being here. So next, Jennifer. Jennifer is here with us too. Jennifer and I met in June of last year during a networking event. And just like Ruby, it felt immediate. That sisterhood, that feeling of knowing someone without having to explain yourself and they just get who you are. That's me and Jennifer's relationship. Jennifer, I would love for you to introduce yourself and share whatever feels comfortable for you to share in this moment.
Oh, thank you, Anya, for inviting me into this space today. It does feel right. My name is Jennifer. I am I guess it's to say, the president of the Lupus Rainbow. A lot of you are probably very familiarized with what lupus is. It is also an invisible disease. Um, I just want to be here to support Anya as well as Stephanie as they kick off this unique dopeness mission. And I'm hoping to be back again in the future. The people that you see are my mother and my aunt, and I love and adore. These are women that have walked with me, talked with me, raised me, loved me even when I didn't love myself. And most important, they instilled to me, God, keep God first.
Yes.
Keep
Yes.
God first. So I'm wishing all of you well, and thanks again for the invite.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you all for being here. Stephanie, I'd like you to share a little bit about this photo.
Yes, as y'all know, I'm Stephanie, the co-host of the Invisible Dopeness, founder of NYB Lifestyle. And to my left, that is my mother. Her name is Sharon. She goes by Shay. And to the left, that is my grandmother. Her name is Alpha Omega, but everybody knows her affectionately just by Omega. They never even pronounced it that way, the way that it's supposed to be pronounced. But these women have poured into me from birth, and they made me feel special. My grandmother specifically, she's seen me through the eyes of God. I feel like she's seen me the way God sees us all, without flaw, made in love, made to love, and that, she just seen me, period. And then my mother was just very creative and very involved in my childhood and made me feel special as well. So I love these women.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And I be talking to Mama all the time. Mama is so
Yes.
sweet, and I absolutely just love her. She's hilarious. She's so funny. Um, so for myself, the picture with the baby, that baby is me, and that's my mama, Barbara. And then the other picture is my grandma. And I would say it just like that all the time. She'd be like, "Why you call my name like that?" Because you my grandma. You soft and squishy, and I love you. Come give me a hug. So I absolutely love my grandmother and my mom. They both taught me the importance of God. I think that's the most important thing that they taught me. My grandmother has written her own gospel songs. Um, and now myself being a grandmother, I listen to my granddaughter and she sings and she makes up her own songs, and we've been doing that since she learned how to talk. But she makes up a lot of gospel songs too, and I think that sometimes you have that spirit of your ancestors that traveled through your lineage, and I could see my grandmother and my mother and my granddaughter and in my daughters, which is super special to me. I thank them for teaching me to become a woman and how to love on other people. So those are the two people who helped raise me to the effect of I know who I am today. And when I'm feeling weak, like I said earlier, and I can't depend on me, I know I can depend on God because I got two angels that are definitely up there helping helping me with my battles. So yeah. And with that being said, I like to thank you all for sharing that, right? Like, I think that who our mothers are, who our grandmothers are, who our mother figures are, the people that we love and look up to, really help to shape us. Stephanie. So, just in case Steph got disconnected, because I don't know, but before we start the conversation, we do want to name something important. When we say mother in this conversation, we're not just limiting that to one person or one role, right? Some of us were raised by our biological mothers. Some of us were raised by our grandmothers. Some of us were raised by aunties. Some of us were raised by villages. None
And
of
some
that
of us, and none of us we won't dishonor anybody, right? Because every one of these people played a serious role into who we are today. Motherhood doesn't look the same in every season. For many mothers, survival requires constant movement.
working, providing, holding things together. And sometimes that meant love shows up through sacrifice, right? Not through availability.
when grandparents raise grandchildren, it can feel different. Not because their love is greater, but because they the pace is slower. You know, my grandmother had time to spend with me. The hustle has eased up a little bit. Things are more settled. Time becomes possible. So this conversation is not about ranking the type of love that you received from these figures.
It's not about blame. It's not about choosing sides. It's all about honoring the people who showed up in the ways that they were able to. So when you think about um, who raised you, and I'm going to pose this question to the group. When you think about who raised you, who were the people that truly in your showed up in your life every day, and what did that care look like for you? Anyone can go ahead and get into that.
I'll chime in on that.
Okay,
The person who was there for me always was my mom. She was an example of resilience. She became a single mom and she led the way with four daughters. She showed us what it was to do something, to do it every single day. There was no breaks. Motherhood is a continuous process. Even after you are a grown adult, mothering never changes. She's still here for me today.
that's beautiful.
That's
And,
beautiful.
yeah, and I love your mom. Jen's mom is 88.
Oh wow, what a blessing.
No,
Going
Yes,
on.
she's
she's
90.
88.
I thought she was in her 90s. I'm sorry.
That's okay. She's in her late 80s and she is the matriarch.
And she is fierce. And I've chit chatted with Jen's mom, and I love that lady. I feel like with the passing of my mom, God just brought a whole bunch of women into my life that I could look at in that manner.
Wow.
So yeah, I love your mama, Jen.
She
She's
is amazing. We be arguing all the time though. We debate.
hey, that's what it is sometimes, right?
But I would truly miss her. I mean, every day I'm just. Yesterday I took her lunch. It's just she's been a rainbow. Even in my times of despair and when it was storms and the rain just wouldn't stop. One of those caveat things is that just remember, Jennifer, that after it rains, look up in the sky because the rainbow there is a rainbow.
Yeah,
There's a ray of hope. And you just have to stay focused on not where you are, but where God wants you to be. Get
yeah,
out of your head. And
definitely,
that's been a strong pillar for me.
definitely. And you get it from your mama. So that's a beautiful thing, right? Jean, when you think about who raised you, what did that care look like for you?
Um, it was more so my mom, even though she wasn't necessarily a single mom, in my opinion, she was because my stepfather spent most of his time in the streets or working. But and of course she did have a level of resilience that you only see in moms, period. Just, she was always there, always going the extra mile. She always put me and my sister first. So
Nice, nice. Thank you for sharing that. And
of course.
Ruby, do you wanna chime in on that?
Yes. So, I would say, like you mentioned earlier, my village raised me, but the three important people, as far as females, were my mom and both my grandmas. Um, because of them, I learned strength. I also learned the importance of families, and as you become an adult, you truly realize the struggles they had to go through, especially 30 plus years ago. So,
Yeah,
I, yeah.
they went through some things, let me tell
Mm,
you. But like you said, moms are resilient.
mm.
Stephanie, When you think about who raised you, what did that care look like?
Oh, the person that was there for me every day was my grandmother in the very beginning because I was with her from a baby until I was 11. And then I was with my mom full time. But the memories that mean the most with me and what that looked like was I was excited to get up every day. And I was excited to enter into a conversation with my grandma. And I loved school, but I never wanted to leave her. And I couldn't wait to get home from school so that we could sit around the kitchen table and she could just pour into me. You know, she just paid attention. What it looked like was paying attention to who you are as an individual and meeting you at that spot instead of treating you just like all the rest of the children. I was the only child, so I didn't have that competition. uh, I was spoiled, but I didn't act spoiled. I didn't expect it. I was super grateful, but I was very spoiled because I didn't have to share my attention with a whole lot of people my age. There was a lot of people around. There just wasn't a lot of people my age. So, and I kind of grew up really fast due to that dynamic because I wasn't around any children. But I would like to take us into the second question, so we can proceed into that one. But wait, I need to know from you, Anya, when you think about who raised you, who were the people that truly showed up for you on an everyday basis, and what did that look like?
Um, I was raised in a two-parent household, so in this case, it would be my mother. Um, that care looked a lot of different ways depending on the day, right? Um, some days it was strictly love and snuggles, and other days I got in trouble for some stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. So it, but it all looks like at the end of the day, it all looked like love, whether it was comforting love or tough love. It all still, once I became a mother, I understood that every day with her care looked like love.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I want you to take us into question number two as well, Anya. Um, how did love show up for you growing up? Was it through time? Was it through provision? Was it through protection or through something else?
How did love show up for me growing up? Hmm. Again, it showed up in different levels. It showed up like wanting to enter high school where all my friends were the popular kids, and my mom saying, okay, let's take this bus trip and go up to New York to Macy's, and let's go grab you some stuff out of there, when I knew in my heart she really couldn't afford it. She wanted to do that for me. It looked like I was a teen mother. It looked like her being there to help me raise my children, um, up until she passed. She was always a very active nana, uh, to them, and they absolutely adored her. It looked like when she passed, I'm gonna tell you how deep it was. When she passed, the extended branches of my family disconnected because she was part of the glue that held our family together. So it looked like
And
love.
That's unfortunately the world that we're living in today, because a lot of the traditions of holiday gatherings and family reunions and things of that nature have changed because of the younger generation doesn't value that connection the same as the older generation.
you are
Right.
correct, Jean. You are so right. And that's why it's also important for the older generation to find the torch holder. Who are you passing the baton to so that there's a clear understanding, so that there is at least one person in the family that understands the task, that understands the job. Because if we just leave it by the wayside and hope somebody picks it up, they all gonna walk over it.
Hmm.
You're so that is so true. It's just a different world, and they don't value it as much. So that's why it's important for us to either step up to be the torch bearer, to grab that that baton from our elders, or if we are on the elder side, to make sure we know who we're going to pass it to, that it's going to be safe in their hands, because it's an important job. It's so important, because we're nothing without our families, and this generation has started it's all about us. It's me, me, me. It's like we're our own gods to a certain degree. We invincible. We can do this, that, the other, and the fifth, and it's really just making us weaker, because we
Yeah,
do better together. We truly do better together.
this is true. This is true. So, Jean, like, how did love show up for you when you were growing up?
You already went to me.
No, not on this question. Or just answer it again.
I mean, I don't know. I guess my mom was a little bit strict. Uh, I did have a sister, so there was. I don't know if we necessarily competed for her attention. Hmm. I don't know. I would need time to think about that.
Okay, we could skip that one. Ruby, how did love show up? Thank you, Jean. How did love show up for you growing up?
I would say it showed up from my mom, as far as protection, but not only that, just showing us every day that we were loved. It was the small things, like she would get
Hmm.
off of work and make dinner, and it was like, okay, that really was love. Like, make a home cooked meal, even though she's tired.
Yeah,
So that's kind of what love looked like to not just me but my siblings.
right, right. Jennifer, for you, how did love show up for you growing up?
Wow. I have to say provision and protection. We relocated from Georgia, ATL, Grady Baby, all the way. And so it was just my mother and her children. And she wasn't really strict, but she protected us. And that was her, she actually shielded us from a lot of different things. We find it as labeling that as being strict, but it was actually protecting us. And provisions, I never knew what it was to miss a meal. And she was a single mother. And subsequently, by having all daughters, she really set the template for us, the framework. Um, I don't have time to sit here and hold your hand, but I'm going to show you how to make it work. Okay. And I'm going to make sure you're safe. That was my mother.
I love that.
And
Me
and
too.
as a result of that, all of us, all of my sisters, I have one that's deceased, but all of us are very much so like that. We understand what it is to make it work. Regardless of whatever obstacle or situation or circumstances that you find yourself in, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, yeah, I love
That's
that.
what mothers and grandmothers and aunties and all of them, your village, they all bring that. But the person that shows up every single day for me was my mom. Both of my parents lost their mothers when they were kids. So my mother didn't know how to be a grandmother.
Aw.
You know,
Mm.
um, she was raised by the village. So was my dad, both of them. I think by the time they were 10, 11, both of them had lost their parents, and had to live with others. So, you know, um, it was a time. But thank goodness, they made it through, and I'm more than grateful, for my mom. Yesterday, I took a Wawa sandwich.
Thank
So, a cup of soup.
Yay.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure mama eat. It's that
Gotta- That's what I'm talking about, provisions.
yeah, she did it for you, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I made that Trader Joe's stop for her yesterday, so it's all good.
yeah,
And
yes,
my sisters are the
definitely.
same way. My sisters, my family is a close knit up here with us. I did come back home, but it is very much so protection, provision, and sometimes we don't have enough time. So we use the time that we have together and create those special moments.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Steph, how did love show up for you growing up?
When I was growing up, it's all of the above. It was definitely time because I was raised by my grandparents. So they had the time to spend with me. And because I came from a broken home, meaning my mother and my father divorced, I was always the special guest. So everybody made time to be with me because I wasn't going to be there permanently. But the permanent residence that I had was with my grandmother, and she definitely made time for me. And then the provision, I didn't want for nothing. If it wasn't coming from my grandparents, it was coming from my aunties and uncles. If it wasn't coming from them, it was coming from my mom and my dad. It was like I didn't want for anything, and I was definitely protected because I was the smallest one out of everybody. I'm still the smallest one, and I'm a grown ass woman. So
Yeah, but you
I'm little.
little, you, you little, and it's
I'm
okay.
little.
Maybe
But
that's why
they
I
didn't.
feel like as us being sister friends, I gotta protect you too, because I will fly to where you are.
I'll cut you. I'm gonna cut you. Yeah, yeah. I've always been protected. So it's all of the above. I have definitely been loved and protected and provided for my entire life.
Nice, nice. And then, so I'm gonna lead us into the next question. What do you guys think the women um who raised you carried quietly, whether that was your mother, your grandmother, your auntie, or more than one person? Ruby.
I think the women in my family carried a lot of pain, maybe hurt, just from a lot of things. As a child, you don't know, but as an adult, you find out and learn. And they were just resilient.
Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I think that's something that is or was, should I say, normal in our culture, right?
Mhm.
The women bared a lot of pain, be it emotional, physical, you know, they just carried they carried the weight of the world on their shoulders,
Mhm.
raising children, relationships that maybe didn't go right, or were in relationships and stayed for reasons that nowadays people be like, that's a red flag, I am out. They
Yeah.
they stuck in it. They believed in, like, it seems like their belief system was so deep into family
Hmm.
that they sacrificed who they were for their family. um
100%.
Jean, so what do you think of the women in your life who raised you carried quietly?
Um, I guess probably the feeling that they needed to be a hold everything together for everybody. They went above and beyond supporting their husbands or their partners, and they went above and beyond with supporting the kids as well as working. So it's probably a stronger burden. And then I don't think they had as many outlets available to them at that time as they do now, where
Right,
people have different groups such as this one or other ones where they can go and discuss their feelings. That's not something that they were often, privy to. I think that's one of the reasons, if you look backwards into some of the older generation, church was such a strong point. Because I think that was a outlet at a point, not just the service, but when they were able to fellowship with, like if they were on the nursing committee or the choir, or it gave them the opportunity to talk to somebody. Because back then there were no cell phones, no internet, no none of that. So,
right,
but yeah.
right. I agree with that. Stephanie. What do you think the women with that raised you carried quietly?
I was muted. I apologize. That's a loaded question. From my mother carried a lot of pain. I keep telling y'all about the my grandmother who raised me, but she was not my biological grandmother. My
Hmm.
biological grandmother passed away before I was born. So my mom was 16 when her mom died, and I don't believe that my mom was ever the same person that she grew up being. She changed at that time, and she carried a lot of pain. But she still, she was still trying to go through life with a smile. And she always credits me for the joy that she did find in life. She said she didn't find joy until I was born again, with my grandmother being missing. And then with my grandma, the grandma that raised me, not my biological grandmother, but the one that raised me, uh, she was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. Our house was the spot. Every relative that I'm aware of has lived in that house at some point in time. And she would cook and she would clean and she would welcome and she would stay up all night sitting at that kitchen table talking about life and like Pinky taking over the world. She would do all those things. She was there for everybody, and she carried all of their secrets, and she carried all of their pain, and she talked them through divorces and mended some marriages back together, and picking up drunk people from the backyard because they done got drunk and fell down. She did it all, she did it all, and she was tiny. Believe it or not, she's smaller than me, and she yeah, so she carried the weight of the world on her shoulders, and she dealt with it through alcohol. And she dealt with it through that Bible, that she knew that Bible inside and out. The pages was all crinkled up on the edges, highlighted, penciled. I mean, it was barely holding it together. It's like don't open the window and let the wind blow, because Grandma's Bible might be like a 52 car pile pickup. So don't do that, because she worked that Bible. But she did drink a lot, and when she drank, the reason I never really remember my grandmother's alcoholism like I remember everybody else's alcoholism in my life is because she never treated me any different. No matter
Mm.
how no matter how drunk she got. When I walked into the room, she seen me, she handled me with care, she handled me with love, and I walk down the hall, she might say some interesting things to my grandfather as I leave the room. But that animosity and that is never directed toward me. So I never really think about her alcoholism. But yeah, she carried a lot of weight on her for sure.
Your grandmom's house sounds like a lot like my grandma's house.
Okay.
Um, every relative lived there. Everybody.
Yes.
And then when the relatives stopped living there because they got their stuff together, she had boarders that rented space from her. Um,
Okay.
but grandma's house was that central location that when we would leave Maryland and come to Pennsylvania, where's everybody gonna be at? We gonna be at grandma's house, and then they'd break off into their little groups after it got dark, right? Like, and she was responsible for keeping us overnight, um, or coming up for the summer, and start at grandma's house and hit all the aunties' houses, and then end at grandma's house. Um, but
Yes.
I met a lot of very interesting non-relatives in grandma's house because they were boarders, and she just took care of the community. And I think that's why, like, when I started the restaurant with my husband, day one we decided that we were going to have a program to feed the unhoused, because grandma's house was the house that you can come and get something to eat. Now, what was in the pot, that's a whole that's a whole episode. We gonna name an episode what was in the pot because grandma would have, and God rest her soul, turtle, groundhog, um, just frog legs. Talk about they taste like chicken. Grandma even had us get her some crickets, chocolate covered crickets or grasshoppers or something like that.
It's the crickets.
I, I don't know, but and I will say that I did not eat at grandma's house unless it was a cake. Um, because I don't was grandma was in the pot, but she always had. She'd go into her little coin sack and
Yes.
give me a couple of dollars and tell me, go ahead, baby, go ahead down there to Adam's and get you some pizza. And I'll go down and get me a slice of pizza that I would share with like four of my cousins because we're just all together. We're just happy we're together. But she always made sure I was taken care of in that perspective because she knew I wasn't eating out the pot. Jennifer, Jennifer, what do you think the women who raised you carried quietly? Let's stop
I was
talking about
sitting
grandma
over, I was literally like sitting over here quietly, like really getting emotional about this question. My mother and her two sisters, they they missed their mother.
so much.
Their mother died when they were young,
Mm,
you know, and as you all share about your grandmothers, both of them, I didn't have a grandmother on either side.
mm,
So those kind of memories are, wow. So motherhood meant a lot to the picture that I did share is my mother and her sister. Those are the two that are still living. And my other aunt, they passed along. I mean, motherhood meant a lot to them. And quietly they missed their mother, you know. And my grandfather was a pastor, and but and for me, I never knew what a relationship was with a grandmother, you
mm,
know. I mean, my auntie served as that house where everybody went, my elder aunt, but I never had that type of relationship. And as a result, my mother and them did not have that relationship like that with their mother. Their memories are very vague because they were so young, and then they all had to be shifted around and go to stay with this one. And my aunt that my aunt Matt, she was raised by my grandmother's mother. So those three women, that's what they missed. They missed their mother. And for me, subsequently, I missed having a grandmother. You know, I
mm,
have those cookie days. So the neighbors, when we moved to Philadelphia, my neighbors, our elder neighbors, became like my step Grammys. You know, my mother said, you go over and take them to the store, you know, you go do this, you shovel in front of their door. But that piece there is, even for me, being a grandmother is so important. I miss all of my girls now big. All my grandbabies are big. They're adults now, except for one I have that's going to be 17 this month, and that's the youngest. So being a grandmother has meant a lot to me, but I was a sick grandmother. So that does make a big difference. So this is an emotional question for me. And as I sat here, I almost had tears in my eyes just thinking about the memories that, you know, my mothers missed from their mothers. The moments that I miss from my grandmothers. And as much, my mother now is a great grandmother, so we try to make sure she gets as many special moments as she can. And
that's
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 great.
yeah, that's great, and I thank you for sharing that because I know that was um a little rough for you, um because like when I think about it, I can share about like my grandmother on my maternal side, but I can relate to you because I didn't know my grandfather. He passed before I was gone. A matter of fact, my grandfather, um, on my maternal grandfather, passed away, and then I want to say the next day, his mother passed away from heartbreak. So I
Oh,
didn't know him or her, but I did know my mother's grandmother, my great grandmother, Ruth Adams, Granny, and she was small like Steph. She's just a little lady, um, but she has so many stories of her her life, and she passed when she was in her late age. She was really old. Granny was really old, but I didn't know my father's parents either because they were already gone. So I could really relate to you in that aspect because I never knew what it felt like to have a grandpa. And I always wanted to pop up. I always wanted somebody who had pop up. I have a dollar. Like I always wanted that. So I think that, the way life shapes us and what we feel like can be individual to us. I think that when we open our hearts to other people, we find that we're more alike than not, right?
Hmm. Agree.
We share a lot of things that are similar, and run parallel to one another. So Jen, I thank you for sharing that, even though that was difficult for you. Um,
All
so
right. So we're gonna get into this next question, and to bounce off of what you said, Anya. Yeah, pop up. That's another show, right?
yes, I'm excited about the pop-up show.
Yeah, because my grandfather was amazing, and it's awkward because they were the odd couple. My grandma was 4'11", and my grandfather was 6'4". So we'll
Oh,
talk about
wow.
that another time. But Anya, what
Yeah,
felt different about the care you received based on who was raising you at that time? How did age, stability, or life stages change that experience?
great question, right? So early in my upbringing, my mother and father were in the household, and it felt stable. I know that they had minor struggles, but we were somewhat of a middle class family, so um, I didn't really feel the effects of any struggles or bumps that they hit. And then my dad died when I was 18, so that changed the way my mother was able to mother me. So I was used to um, a lot of assistance and patience and things like that. Um, she wasn't able to give that anymore because she had to work multiple jobs. And then she decided she wanted to go back to school, which I was ever so proud of her for doing because she was older. She had me when she was 30. So by the time I was 18, she was 48. Um, and she did stuff like, oh, I'm going back to school, you know. So, but for the most part, the care I received felt normal. It felt like it should have felt. I got spankings and stuff, and I didn't really like that too much because,
You want to be in control?
but um, like my dad, he was rough, boy. He was from Georgia. That hand, he had a big man hand. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But my mom, she was a protector, and the care that I know that she gave, she would sit up if it was an issue or a problem. She would sit at the dining room table with her Bible. When I was going to bed, she'd be sitting there. When I got up in the morning, she'd either be sitting there reading it or sleep in it. So she was dedicated to having a relationship with God, and I think that changed my view on how I should be connected with God. And again, she was 30. It was stable, and it just overall it was. it was good even when it was bad, you know?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for sharing all that. Thank you. Jean?
Um, I, I, I guess we were also what you would call middle class. So I wasn't aware of the struggles growing up either. But again, with my stepfather, he was more so just a straightforward provider. He was not necessarily, I mean, he was there, but he wasn't in the day-to-day decisions. I mean, we knew who the boss of the house was, Terry. Like, and that was my mom. Um, and I think she picked a lot of that from her mom, who also raised her. Um, it was I think I guess the impact I think it was more stable than I'm not gonna say the average person that I grew up with, but as I did grow up and get older and got out into the world and started talking with people, it may have been my life may have been just a little bit more stable than the average person. And I didn't think so because I always thought we could have had more, we could have done more, we should have had more. And not realizing because I was a kid, bitch, you got a whole lot. Fuck.
Hey, that part,
You
that
have
part.
your own room. They're sharing a room with five people. Stop
Yeah,
complaining.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
you know, I think that has a lot to do with like circumstances, right? Like and what choices our mothers or mother figures made at certain points in their life that because they made that particular choice, by the time we came along, our lives were affected in a certain way because of those choices that they made early on. Um, and I
And
know, I
sometimes
know,
you're saying choices. Sometimes I don't even necessarily know if they had a choice. If they were
yeah,
just
well, true,
Mhm,
true.
mhm,
And that's kind of like what I mean. It's like the things that happened to them early on had ripple effect a whole lot different than I feel like today's situations have.
mhm.
I feel like today people are better equipped to make changes to their situations with like assistance in some way, shape, or form, be it like a group for support or some type of financial assistance or education and finding time. Like I feel like people nowadays have so many different options that our mothers and grandmothers didn't necessarily have. So in some instances, they stay kind of stuck in certain situations that if they had an opportunity to change it, they probably would have, which would have then affected the way that we were raised. Does that make sense?
It
Yes.
does.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, Ruby, what felt different about the care you received based on who was raising you at the time? Like, I know you spoke about your grandma and your mother. Did you like notice a difference between the two of them when you were with one or the other?
I did. With my grandmother, which is like more of just a quietness about her. Like she would cook. She one time was trying to show me how to make homemade biscuits. Never got upset. She was just it was just different with her, where she didn't have to really say anything. You just saw and you follow. With my mom spent more time talking, but at the same time too, my grandma didn't play. Uh, and I'll
Mm,
say this: one day I was in the store, asked for a piece of candy. I kept begging her, "Pop."
yeah,
Oh, she got my lips, and I learned then. Be, don't even ask once if she say no. That's it. With your mother is a little bit different. You know,
Mhm.
For me, it
coach.
was kind of the exact opposite. I was telling Anya the other day that I remember going to my grandmother's house,
Hmm.
and when it was time, because I used to be an extremely picky eater, when it was time for dinner, she would give me options. But at my mom's house, where she would not, if she was fixing something I didn't eat, she would fix something that I did eat. But whatever she fixed, it wasn't an option. I'm making this and then I'm making this for you. It was no, would you prefer this or this? It's what I cooked, that's what you eat, or you're going to be hungry. You make up your mind.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Where my grandmother had a much more catering nature to all of her grandkids. Like going to her house for the holidays, everybody's favorite dish was on the table. Well, one of the tables, because we normally needed to have two because of all the food that was there.
And I think that that comes with grandmothering. I
Mm-hmm.
am a grandmother 5 years in, and my two grandbabies, first of all, Cabela is 5, Castle is 2, and
Aww.
um actually he just had a birthday. He just turned 3. I just showed him how to do this.
And the party is just beginning.
Listen, he's out of them terrible twos, honey, so I'm good with it. But because I only have the two, I always like hug them and tell Bella, like, you my favorite granddaughter. And she'd be like, you my favorite me, man. I'm like, I know. She'd be like, I know. And then we'd be like, besties, you know, um, which is different than like I mothered my children, right? Like I was more stern and strict, and um, I don't spank my grandchildren where my children got spankings. Um, I talk to them when they're crying and upset, unlike the mother part of me, which would have been like, hey, be quiet, stop doing
I was
that.
gonna say, as a grandmother, you're more interested in what the issue was. As a mother, you stop
Right,
the noise. It's
right, right. Because the level, it feels almost like the level of responsibility change, right? Even if I'm like babysitting and watching them, I can be like, y'all, it's getting on my nerves. Please sit down. Okay, you don't want to sit down? Guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna take a nap, right? Where if it was my kids and when I was raising my children, like I said, I was a teen mom. Um, I'd be sit down. Did I tell you sit down? Pop, 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 pop. Now lay down and take a nap. With the grandkids, I'm like, oh, please tell me why you're not listening. Please tell me why
guys,
you're
I have to
taking.
step away for a few.
That's all right. Go right ahead,
Y'all
honey.
may be done by the time that I get back. If you guys are, it was nice meeting everybody, and I'll see everybody on the next one.
No problem, my love. Thank you so much for being here.
Always, it was my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So we can go ahead to the next question. What did you take with you from the way that you were raised that still lives in how you show up today as a parent, a auntie, a mentor, or a safe space for someone? Ruby?
Um, I learned to just listen more because, like you mentioned before, growing up, or years ago, our parents, grandparents, they didn't have the option of having people to really listen to them. It was okay. You have an issue, deal with it. Where now we're more open about things. Like I would tell anyone, go get coaching, go counseling. It helps. Take care of your mental. Where years ago it wasn't that way.
Right,
So
right, right. Thank you for sharing that. Jen, what did you take with you from the way that you were raised?
It was survival. Survival. Okay. Um, as a parent, which has been motherhood has been very, very difficult for me. As an auntie, I just serve as an example, and I've been a mentor many, many times. Um, so all to say that survival is one of my big takeaways as a child from when I was raised. We had protection, we had church, we had provisions, and we had what you call cold-blooded survival. I lived in the city, and so you learn some fundamental things about survival.
Right.
And it lived in our household as well. And those same fundamental takeaways are still ingrained in me today.
Thank you
Um,
for sharing that. Steph?
What I took from the way that I was raised is patience. I think about how I raised my children. I raised them on an individual basis. Um, I didn't play favorites or anything like that, but as far as meeting them on an emotional level, I talked to each one the way that I know that it would be received, versus yelling at everybody at the same tempo and all of that good jazz, because I did recognize them as individuals. So patience and truly seeing a person is what I took from the way that I was raised, more than anything else. I mean, I could go down a whole laundry list of things, but I think that stands out the most.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that. And then, Steph, before you go, or before we wrap up, what is something you intentionally chose to do differently? Not because anyone failed, but because you recognized the need and you decided to meet it.
Oh, I love this question. I absolutely love this question because I actually raised my kids different than the way I was raised. And one of those things, not because of what I experienced in my household per se, is what I observed across the board. How parents spoke to their children, how they disciplined their children, and I created a system called the Family Society. I emulated society and put it on a family level. Basically, it was our whole little government within our four walls and our in our home. And they got violations, they got rewards. The violations where they would lose money. The rewards is where they would earn money. They earn it through school. They earn it by cleaning their room. They earn it by helping me around the house. They earned it, so I didn't have to yell at DeAndre. I didn't have to yell at Lanasia. I didn't really have to, I was like, that's a violation. And that's the reason why I created the system so I wouldn't yell at them. So I
That's
wouldn't lose my patience with them and say things that I can't take back and stuff like that. But I still cause children to cry because when you take their PlayStation money time because they didn't clean their room all the way or because they forgot their dish on the table or whatever the case may be, whatever the violation was for. Yes, some tears did drop and they got mad and slammed the door and that was another violation. But I didn't have to run around and be yelling and talking to my kids like I was crazy. And I didn't want to do that because I seen others do it to their children and I seen the aftermath of how those kids interpreted how their parents felt about them. Because, kids today are a lot more sensitive than we were and a lot more sensitive than the generation before us,
Right.
right? And I just recognized it and was like, I'm going to do my children like my grandmother did me, but in my own way. um and I'm going to, I gotta discipline them, but at the same time I taught them how money worked. I taught them how to handle money, how to earn it, how to save it, how to appreciate it, how to respect it, the whole nine. So it was a double lesson type thing, but that was my biggest, I think that's like my biggest accomplishment as it relates to parenting. I'm super proud of that because my kids still talk about it to this day and they're grown. So yes.
Nice. Nice. Beautiful. Ruby, what's something you
Uh,
intentionally choose to do differently?
and definitely raising my daughter, I recognize the world has changed in the past 20 years, 50, even 5 years ago. So something I definitely try to work with my daughter. I'm trying to meet her at her level, but trying to help her see, hey, this is the world and this is what the world is made of. And really you can do anything that you want to do, and let's try to get you to a point to when you're 18 you can reach certain goals. um so definitely trying to raise her to see her potential.
Nice, nice. And
Hmm.
yeah, your daughter is super sweet. Um, I always hear her in the background, I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom. I love you.
And she makes bracelets,
Yes, listen,
so
she's a
trying to
baby
keep her busy.
entrepreneur. It's not,
Yes.
better. Listen, raise them right, girl. Okay. Jennifer, what is something that you intentionally choose to do differently? Not because anyone failed, but because you recognize a need and you decided to meet it.
Life is challenging, and I elected to remove my kids from the city. I recognized that I did not want them to go through the challenges that I did growing up in the city. I did prefer the suburbs where we used to live in Georgia, and I respected my mother's decision to relocate. In as much, I kind of trailed behind it because I've lived in about 4 states. But for my children, I did choose something differently than my siblings. I did remove my kids from the elements. I wanted to give them an opportunity to see life in a different way. There were some challenges, but I knew that in the Southern, I could get more support. And I had a ton of family down there. So I did have a village. And their dad, my ex-husband, lived down there as well, so they were not without a parent. But I just felt that with so much going on in the city, so many challenges, we decided to do 50-50. You do half, I do half, especially for my boys.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to give them an opportunity to see life in a different way. Um,
And I
and
think,
so at the end of the day, they are where they are. They are who they are. For certainly, I would do it, make the same decisions again. Um, and I think it has helped all of us to grow as individuals and collectively.
awesome. Yeah, like I think that's big too, because when you look at like how you were raised and then you're raised well enough to be able to look at how you were raised and see some of the things that you would change and you actually did it, right? Like that speaks volumes for you guys. Um and your individual um uninvisible dopeness, right? Because you're showing your kids, you're showing your family, you're you know, what's it called? Encouragement for your friends and stuff, So yeah, I like to thank you all definitely for sharing that. And that leads us to why we're here, right? Like all of this lives under invisible dopeness. The love, the labor, the survival, and the choices that we made because of it. Before we close, I want to honor our mothers and mother figures in one more way. Music holds memory. There are songs that instantly take us back, right? To a person, a place, a feeling. So instead of playing music here, we're going to just name it. Each of us is going to share a song or two or artist that represents our mother or the person who mothered us. Um, a song that every time you hear it, you think of her. You don't have to explain it unless you want to. And I think we might just skip that part for right now. But Jennifer, if you could tell us what your songs were.
Certainly. Become this. No, I'm so sorry. Go tell it on the mountain. My grandfather was a preacher in McDonough, Georgia, and that was his song, and it became our song. The next one for me is a migration from my mother's era into my era, and that's adulting. It's an honor that's filled with so many challenges. You know, just because you're adulting doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. But there's happiness in it. And this is by young brother Jonathan McReynolds, who just his music continues to just soar and be an incredible place to be. So those two songs there. But adulting kind of bridges where my mother was and where I am. It's in the middle, you know.
Nice,
Um,
nice. And I think you also chose We Come This Far by Faith.
oh yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a hand clapper. Okay.
Yeah,
If
girl.
you are watching this podcast, you will see why I'm doing this. Okay.
Yeah.
You will be right here with me. You know, turn this
Oh yes.
on when you listen to
Oh
this
yes.
playlist.
Yeah.
Um, Ruby, your song.
I chose um, the song that that kind of remind me. It was really more for my mother's song for Mama. Boys to Men. That's actually from Soul Food.
Mm-hmm.
If so, when I hear that song,
Mama song.
it yeah, it makes me think of her and how you realize one person can be the string to hold everybody together. And it and when she passed, it really it was like wow, like
Yeah,
everybody went their separate ways. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And Jean's song was Sadie by the Spinners. And when I found it and added it to the playlist, I was instantly transformed to my childhood. And that song does make you think of your mother or mother figure. So y'all definitely need to listen to that. Steph, what was your song, love?
My song was Get Here by Ophelia Adams. Like I said before, I bounced around a lot between my grandparents, my mom, and my dad because of the divorce and them choosing to give my grandparents the honor of raising me. They were both of the parents were very present, but where laid my head every day was at my grandparents' house. But whenever I left, my grandma would dedicate "Get Here" to me.
Mm,
She couldn't wait till I got back to the house, and not to labor on that, but there's something that I think it was Jen had said earlier, or it might even been you, Anya. You know, because our house was the spot, because our house was that central meeting place. It's been the only place, even today, that I can call home. It's the only place that I could call home. So that song "Get Here" was just like, just please come home. And I just love the song and just let me know, reminder how much she loved
yeah,
me. Yeah.
yeah. I listen, putting the playlist together was had me on a had me on a high and a low. It was the ebb and the flow. I was over here like, yes, okay, because those songs really music hits you. I know for me, I'm a musical connoisseur, right? Like, so for me, when I hear certain songs, it touches the base of my soul. It
It's supposed to.
touches me
Music is
so
supposed to. That's the
deep.
power of it. Yes.
And Get Here, Sadie. I was making, and I ugly cry, y'all. Y'all will see in later episodes. I might just cry. It's not cute.
We
So
are one. We are one.
listen, okay. Speaking of We Are One, that was one of my mama's songs, Frankie Beverly and Maze. Let me just tell y'all about this real quick. So my mama, Frankie Beverly and Maze was my mama's everything. She would go see them each and every time they came to Pier 6 in Baltimore. Um, she would go see them, and we still like 'cause my house is a household of music, so we're constantly playing music. So my grandchildren be singing Frankie Beverly and Maze, and I think that's so sweet because it instantly connects them to their nana, their mama's nana, and my mama. Instant connection. Um, and then Diane Reeves, Better Days.
Better days. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
slowly she rocked looking half asleep.
Mm, mm,
Like
mm.
that's a song about a grandma. Okay. I'm gonna just leave
Oh,
that right there. Y'all go listen to the playlist. Check that out. Um, we invite you to think of a song that connects you with your mother. Drop it in the comments. Your mother figure, the woman who raised you, the people who you love the most that impacted your life. What song takes you to that person? Drop it in the comments. And if it's
mhm.
a banger, y'all, because y'all new here, we all new doing this thing, I will add it to the playlist in dedication of your mama. Okay. So sit with that for a little bit. Again, and stuff, I'll just let them know that we created a playlist on our channel with the songs, the artists that we named today. It is there for you to listen to whenever you want. No pressure, just something to return to, something to let just sit on your soul. And as we close, I want to thank everyone who sat with us in this space today. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your openness. Thank you for trusting us with your stories. Today wasn't about perfection, it was about
Mm,
truth. It was about honoring the women who shaped us and recognizing how much they carried, often
mm,
without being seen. For me, this episode will always be super personal and super emotional for me because it's rooted in my mother, Barbara Jean Crankfield Lumpkin, and the quiet strength she lived with. But this conversation doesn't end here because when we talk about what our mothers carried, we also started to notice what we've been carrying.
mm.
In our next episode, we're going to talk about the moment we realized what we were carrying too. That moment that you look up and think, wait, when did this become my role? Like, when did I
That part.
become responsible for this?
That part.
how
Oh,
did,
that
Or
how,
when
part
the
right there,
roles
right?
reverse.
That part right
Anya,
there.
When the roles reverse. When you
right,
become the mama of the mama.
right. You start taking care, like, how,
Yes.
there is no, there, listen, everybody, there is no standard operating procedures for life. Okay.
Mm, no,
It's,
there's
it's,
no man.
it's very, this just happened. Now you got to do this. So you be having to figure some stuff out. And we're going to explore that on our next episode. So for our final closing, you may feel invisible at times, but you are super dope all the time. And you need to remember that. We see you,
You are special and appreciated.
we love you,
And we love you with the love of God.
and God loves you too. And if this conversation resonated with you, take a moment to like this episode, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Invisible Dopeness so you don't miss what's coming up next. That helps us to stay visible
Ah,
and share the dopeness that lies within.
right.
And
Yeah.
don't forget, this episode was supported by Ecosys Studios. Always thankful. Hey, I didn't see, I don't have my list.
Nope, I
Always
got you.
thankful. All right.
MYB Lifestyle Services, Always Thankful Incorporated, Ecosys Studios, AIM Connections, the Lupus Rainbow, and Queens barbecue and Southern cuisine. This
Cuisine.
has been episode 1 of Invisible Dopeness in honor of our mothers and our mother figures and the women that shaped us and their invisible dopeness. Thank you to all
Absolutely.
our partners who helped make this space possible. We'd like to thank you for being here. You have not only shown up for us, but you've shown up for yourselves. We see you. And until next time, stay dope.
Dope. Stay
Stay
dope.
dope.
Dope. You got this, babe. We're right.
2026. Be on your dopeness.
Hey, we're out. Much love. Bye.
Bye.